So Josh, you were one of the founders of the Christian Allies Caucus in Israel. Tell us about how that got started.
Well, in 2004, together with member of Knesset Yuri Stern, Alev Shalom, who passed away, we decided to launch something called the Knesset Christian Allies Caucus in the Parliament of Israel. It's made up of members of parliament from several different parties. Today it's 7 different parties, left to right, religious to secular. And the idea was to build direct lines of communication, cooperation, and coordination between the leaders of Israel, our parliament members, and Christian leaders around the world. Whether it be church leaders, leaders of organizations, or political leaders, we realized that the time was right for Jews and Christians to come together in the 21st century.
Tell us what else you're involved in.
Well, from the activities of the Knesset Christian Allies Caucus, we were able to eventually establish in 2006 our first sister caucus called the Congressional Israel Allies Caucus. And today we have 34 Israel Allies caucuses in governments all over the world, which is under the umbrella organization of the Israel Allies Foundation. We have offices in Brussels, in Berlin, in Washington, D.C., in Jerusalem, and Sao Paulo. And the foundation coordinates our activities around the world in order to turn biblical support for Israel into real political support.
What is the thing that you wish Christians would understand better about Israel and Jews?
I think the most important issue for Christians today is the issue of Jerusalem as the undivided capital of Israel. Christians have been told that the issue of Jerusalem as the capital is a political issue, when really it's a biblical issue. And we've seen, both Jews and Christians, that the prophecies have been fulfilled. But we also know that there are more prophecies to come. And if Jews do not keep control of Jerusalem, and that means all of Jerusalem, these prophecies will not happen. And there are many enemies of Israel who are trying to divide Jerusalem and give away the city of Jerusalem to the enemies of Israel. So for Christians, it's integral, for those who believe in the Bible, to stand for the united capital of Israel, of Jerusalem.
And what does that look like in practical terms for Christians around the world?
Well, there's many things they can do. They can get involved with our Facebook, Knesset Christian Allies Caucus, or Israel Allies Foundation. They can go and get involved with the Jerusalem Call in their community, which we hold all over across America and different places around the world. They can get educated, they can come to Israel, they could pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and they can see what's their individual talents and get involved, whether it be talking to their political representatives or writing an article on behalf of Israel. But the most important thing is to just engage.
Tell us about the Jerusalem Call. What is that?
The Jerusalem Call is an event that we have all across America, in churches across America, where we bring these issues to the forefront. We get people registered to vote. We talk about the legislations that the Congressional Israel Allies Caucus are presenting and get them to support them. We teach them about the biblical importance of Jerusalem. And we just get Christians involved in the political process so that they can make a difference.
And we understand you also are involved in television.
Yes, I'm one of the founders and producers of Israel Now News. We're now on Daystar 3 times a week, and it's a news magazine that shows news, interviews with leaders in Israel, the Land of the Bible, which is a different spot in Israel, a different location every week that talks about its connection to the Bible, and the ICJ report, which talks about Jews and Christians working the land. It's been very successful, and we hope that you tune into Israel Now News.
Well, thanks for joining us today. And do you have any message for our Root Source students?
Yes, I think getting involved with Root Source is a very important initiative. It's good to learn from the source about what's happening in Israel, in Bible prophecy. And I would just encourage all the students to not just do it from the computers, but to come to the land of Israel, to see it for themselves, to understand what Israel really has to offer to them. Our tourism ministry has a great slogan. They say, if you like the book, you'll love the country. And I think it makes sense when you're here in the land, and we invite all of you to come join us in Israel.
Thanks for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me.